Hey, my name is Joshua Reyes, a Marine Corps veteran and Paramount employee. And on behalf of Paramount Veterans Network, we bring you another inspiring virtual coffee with vets. Welcome writer and director of the movie My Dead Friend Zoe, Kyle Hausmann-Stokes, an Army veteran, and the film's co-star, Sonequa Martin-Green, who plays an Army Afghanistan veteran. Today's session will be moderated by CBS Beyond the Gates, Maurice P. Kerry, actor and also Marine Corps veteran. The interview will cover themes of military transition, mental health, and the inspiring film that is based on Kyle's true story. We thank you all for joining us. Please welcome our host, Maurice P. Kerry.
Thank you, Joshua. I really appreciate that. First of all, before I get into anything with the interview or anything like that, I just want to show respects to the military service members and just say thank you for your service and thank you for your sacrifice. I think that should be done first and foremost. Jumping right in, we're going to have that first question is going to be for Kyle. Kyle, the film is based on your own personal experience. What made you decide to share your journey on the screen? It's such a deep and personal journey. What made you decide and feel safe to do that?
You know, I've actually kind of been on a mission to do this by a commanding officer, by a colonel of mine from the Army, set me on this path back in 2004. I was set to get out of the military. I had done my 3 years, but we got stop lossed. And, I thought my plans were going to change. I wasn't going to be able to get out, wasn't going to go to school. We were getting ready to mobilize to Iraq. And he called me into his office and he said, Sergeant, I've seen your films. And this is not good news for all the vets out there. You do not want to be standing before the colonel, as we all know. I didn't even know he knew who I was. And he said, they're good. They're meaningful. I think you were meant for something different than deploying with us right now. I would make these videos of us jumping out of airplanes, our training missions in the jungle, like crazy stuff. I was always a filmmaker, right? Making VHS tape copies, handing it out to Joe in the barracks. Like, it was fun. So now I cut back to the colonel's office and he said, I've made arrangements for you and only you to be exempt from this stop loss. And the way you're going to pay it back to your battle buddies by not going forward with them is you're going to find the best film school in the world. I don't know which one it is, but you better find it. You're going to hone your craft and you will tell the soldier story. So he set me on that mission and I saluted him and it changed my life forever. And I've been on that path ever since. I left Fort Polk 2 years later, made my way to USC. I finally get into the film school, which was its own journey and battle. And then I get recalled to come back into the Army out of nowhere. And this is in 2007. I had to drop out of USC, go to war, went to Iraq for the surge, 07, 08. And it's there in Iraq where I met two of my platoon mates that are a big inspiration for this film. And then after getting back from Iraq, it was my journey with PTSD, but which became post-traumatic growth. And then my relationship with my grandfather. And it's just been a long time coming. I've been trying to tell this story for almost 20 years, and it's just so surreal that it's all here right now.
So you're following orders.
Hoorah. Well, hua, as we would say. But
no.
yes.
No. You get it right the first time. No.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Don't do that again.
Don't do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I am. You know, it's funny. Someone else asked me. I hadn't thought about it this way, but while I was in the military, 5 years, I was a staff sergeant, paratrooper. I felt like I was an artist or a filmmaker in a camouflage uniform. And now that I'm out, in a way, it's shifted, but it's the same. Where I feel like I'm a soldier in a filmmaker's uniform, and I don't know. Yeah, I'm just trying to tell our story. And look, we vets, we don't get the opportunity really ever to tell our own stories, to sit in the director's chair or the writer's chair. And anyway, that's why this Paramount and organizations like this are so cool to like bring us together and give us these opportunities. So I'm just excited for our family to I feel like it's a win for all of us,
Did you say that you went to Iraq in 04 or?
I was there 07, 08 for the surge.
Okay. I was there in 04. So
you got it warmed up for us.
Yeah, I did. But just to throw this at you too, as well, being an artist as well as a war veteran, when I was in Iraq, I was rapping. So, I was basically same journey.
Yeah.
Different paths, same journey. So
yeah, wow, that's cool. Yeah.
All right, next question. Sonequa Martin-Green, how you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing so good. I'm doing terrific.
Thank you so much. And before we get started with the question, I do want to say thank you for, lending your talent to this. And me seeing the film, you did amazing. I literally went to everybody. And I was like, "Yo, military, y'all go see this!" Like everybody.
Ooh-wee.
Thank you.
That really means a lot. I'm just so grateful. I can't even believe I'm on this podcast right now. I'm like, I cannot believe y'all let me be here right now. This is amazing.
You almost got me too. I don't want to say too much, but it was like right there in the corner.
Right there in the corner, gathering up in the.
It was right there. I was like, no, I'm throwing it.
Yeah, like I'm not letting that drop. I'm not letting it drop.
Cool. Jumping in, did Kyle's military experience shape your understanding of your character Merritt? And if so, how?
Oh my goodness, that's a great question, and a great way to word that question too. 1000% yes. Even from the very beginning, when he wrote me a letter and told me about himself, he said it so humbly, but it's like, man, what you're saying is phenomenal. He's like a staff sergeant, Bronze Star. As you pointed out earlier, he's like, and now I wanna save lives, and so in essence, the mission continues. And so that I have always had so much respect for veterans and active soldiers, and it just really blows my mind the type of person that is willing to do that. And I know that everybody does it for different reasons, but regardless of your reasons, the fact that you did it or are doing it is just like it makes me want to cry whenever I talk about it. And if I can be like that, a person of honor and service and sacrifice, I mean, honestly, goodness, it's huge. It's huge. I really look to you guys, and I really looked to Kyle as I was creating his life, right? It was slightly different because it was through a filter of a Black woman. And so he asked for and allowed collaboration, which also astounds me still to this day. But yes, I looked to him. I watched him. I listened to him. And did my best to do him justice. Oof.
You were amazing, and I can't. I'm the type of person that I like to use words as they are meant to be used, and the fact that I can't think of a stronger word than amazing. I can't think of a stronger word, but that's the word we're gonna go with. It's very, very much overused, but it's the only one I got.
Oh man, I will take that. That is very kind and very encouraging. Thank you.
You obviously need to balance the need to make it relatable for most, if not all, audiences. How did you go about doing that? Or how did you go about writing the script in a way that would be relatable to as many people as possible?
In one word, humor. That is like the universal language. That is the language that we speak in the military. And as veterans, we have our own weird, dark sense of humor. People want to laugh. People like to laugh. We veterans, we have some things in common, some unique things about us, but we are just freaking people that did this thing. We kind of had a weird job, and, sometimes it had some weird effects afterwards, but like, we're just people. And so I just set out to make a film about people. It's a film about a friendship, and it's about my friendship, but then also my relationship with my grandfather, and then just other veterans, and the relationship between our Iraq, Afghanistan, and Vietnam vets, like that schism between those two. But yeah, man, I wanted it to be universal, and I also wanted to, like, this is going to sound strange, but almost to take us veterans off a pedestal a little bit, like we are so honored now, thanks to the Vietnam veterans, that people say, thank you for your service and welcome home. But when you see non-vets tell vet stories, they're like, oh, it's almost too precious. We kind of can't get in there. We kind of can't tell jokes, or we can't be, just poke humor at it. And I'm like, okay, well, watch this. Say, if we're going to be making this film, this is a 90% all veteran cast. We're going to have some fun with it, and I think that made it more accessible to a broader audience. So yeah, man, I wanted to make a dark comedy about a friends and family, and And thanks to Sonequa and Natalie and Utkarsh, these like incredibly funny people. And Ed Harris is funny, man. That was some lighters. So yeah, that was the goal.
You said we speak humor, but we also speak very fluent sarcasm.
Yes.
Very fluent sarcasm.
Yes.
And so you succeeded in your endeavor and your goal.
Well, shout out Natalie Morales. I mean, she's got a tough job. You know, she is the smart ass. In this, and she walks a fine line, because when people see the film, and you can see the reviews, and like there's no mystery that you will laugh in this film and you will cry, and that is because of Sonequa and Natalie and the way that they do both things. So it's a testament.
How did working with Kyle, who was personally connected to the film, affect the way that you personally approach this role?
Well, I've never played someone who is still living and is present with you. So that was a brand new experience for me. And from the very beginning, I felt safe, and I felt at home, and that's because of him. You know, he brought a lot of people back home when he was over there. He's been saving lives. And I was talking to some veterans that served with him last night at our screening, and one of them was saying, you know, this is what Kyle does. Kyle has been saving lives, even when he was training, and then once he was over there, he brought them all back home. So this is what he does. And I felt such a sense of security, and therefore a sense of freedom to play, you know, within the realm of this story and these words on the page. And I feel like there was a lot of resistance. There was a lot of challenge just in my soul and in my heart, because I would have ideas, but I would always want to make sure that I was tethered to him, and tethered to his state of mind and state of heart at the time of these things happening. And so there were many times where it felt impossible, where I felt like, you know, man, am I going to be able to do this? Like, this is wholly different than what I know. It's a completely unfamiliar life and world. It is a pain that I do not know. I have my own versions of it, but they don't really compare necessarily. And I don't use my own life anyway. So it's like, I can't even use what I do have. So I am grateful that he made it such a warm, open space, because he allowed for the creativity to flow. And because he was so open about his experience, I was able to glean from him. And we were always talking. I was always asking him questions, and he was always answering them. And the other veterans in the film also were just as forthcoming and open about their experiences. And it really it settled me in, and praise God, only by the grace of God was I able to do it. And I really, really, truly mean that. It was really the power of God, I think, that helped it all come together, for me at least, because it was quite challenging and painful. But I'm so grateful. You know, I would always look over at him, any pain that I was feeling, I would look over at him and remind myself that this is what he actually went through. So, you know, go to your mark and do your job, Sonequa. You know, do the life.
Our experience, you know, as honorable as it is, it does take us to some darker and dangerous places. Were there some moments while writing as well as filming this that were too difficult for you to relive, or even just kind of sit through again and remember?
Yeah, no, thank you for that question. You know, I think because prior to making this film, you know, I mentioned earlier that my colonel set me on this path to tell the veteran story. I mean, look, this is my first feature film, and I have been directing for almost 2 decades. Like it's been a journey to get here. And so I graduated from USC in 2010, and I spent, 10 years just dedicated to telling stories through the VA. You know, I made all the VAs, PSAs for a few years there, mental health campaigns. And so I guess you could say I kind of got, used to talking about these stories. And I'm just kind of thankful to other people, the other veterans, specifically the other women that shared their stories with me and educated me, because it almost, I don't know, it like built up thick skin for me in terms of dealing with this stuff to like really, it's almost like a therapist practices on other people for 10 years. And then they're like, okay, now I'm going to get some therapy. And that's what this was. And I wrote this script over the period of like 2 years, man. And then I did fits and starts to try to get it made. And then eventually it was like a Hail Mary. I did a proof of concept short film, spent my own money on that, which I didn't have, which you're not supposed to do, but did it anyway because let's go. And so it was practicing there too and feeling all those emotions. So, I mean, I think the answer is yes. It was super emotional and personal all the way throughout. But I think I was ready. I had a lot of practice. And then, I don't know, Sonequa and Natalie, they were just like, they were there. They were my battles, with me throughout all of it. And there's moments, that Sonequa remembers and Natalie that, that I kind of remember just being there kind of in a weird place, and they would just stand next to me and we would like touch shoulders or something and then share a look. And like Sonequa said, hit your mark, Kyle, go to your monitor. We're on a mission here. We're doing something. So yeah.
Thank you. Really. Thank you for, braving that and pushing through. I get it. That's sort of what we're trying to do.
That's right.
We're scared.
That's right. You get one of my favorite lines. I think it's from Three Kings, George Clooney's character. I think maybe I'm misquoting, but he says, you do the scary thing first and you get the courage after. And I think that's how it goes. That's how it is in war. You are not ready for things to pop off, and then they do, and it just happens. You are full blown real time, and then afterwards you're like, okay. Yeah. And then cut to me in Iraq. I brought a camera with me, of course, and then we'd like get back to the fob, and I'd like take, we get blowed up, and I'm like, take my guys and sit them in front of a camera. I'm like, how are you feeling right now?
Right.
Yeah.
How I feel right now. Sonequa. So were there any moments in the film where Kyle shared something from his experience that deeply impacted your character without any spoilers? What were those moments?
Oh, that's a really, really good question.
Then I have a follow-up question, because there was something that in the film that really touched me, like really got me, that I really want to ask you about. Spoiler or no, I'm going to ask you.
Oh, okay. All right. So we don't get,
Without spoilers though, without
spoilers. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Go on. No, I have two moments in particular, but they're spoilers. So I will say, the sort of masochism that would come in that time of transition from PTSD to post-traumatic growth. This is something that a lot of, Kyle was teaching me about. Kyle was teaching me about that a lot of people deal with this, that a lot of veterans deal with this, and they're finding ways to escape and anesthetize and also, self-harm. And he was saying with running, he taught me a lot about how running had been ritualized for him, and how much focus was put on running in the Army, and I suppose across all the branches, right? It's some sort of like a touchstone. And I didn't know that necessarily. And so even the way I built my world around running and it being a ritual, and it being necessary for my well-being in the day, and it also being a way to self-harm. It was that was really profound, and I put all of that in there. And we also decided that it was the only time that Zoe's not there. So it's really the only time where there's just like a bit of a reprieve, a bit of liberation. Even though, as you see with it, with how elegantly and beautifully the film is edited. Thank you, Ali Greer. You see that is who is on her mind. Zoe is on her mind as she's running. She's on her mind all the time, but her actual presence is not there. It's like, this is the one time that I get a break from that. So, we talked about that. he shared that with me and talked with me about that, and I put that in as well.
So, Sonequa, you literally hit exactly what I was referring to. It was, and I refer to it as self-flagellation. And some people deal with it physically, like me, because I have PTSD as well, but I deal with it mentally. You know, just talking when I'm in the gym, but I'm talking crazy to myself, like, you fat, you let you do, you know, and a lot of us deal with that. So you literally, you saved me from having to ask you, because you went exactly, there was a moment where, you know, you know, and I was like, who, and I literally in my head, I said, who taught her that? Who showed her that?
I'd like to know that too. I mean, I don't, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, who showed her that? Because that was the moment I was like, I was sold, because I knew what it was, and then that was the moment I understood the running. So yeah, I was super impressed at that moment.
Wow, thank you.
That was really powerful and impactful for me. So just thank you for going that deep and that hard. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Thank you for that. I got to big up Kyle with that one too, because that impetus, that instinct came. Speaking of everything that I learned about running and about the self-harm and whatnot, you know, that being a really unfortunate part of PTSD, I just had this overwhelming like need and desire to do it. And I was like, is that weird? Is that too dramatic? Am I doing the most? Like, is that going to read? Is, you know, and so we did it once, and then Kyle, he was like, you know what, I really love this, and it does work, but I think that if we're gonna do it, then we should go all the way, and like go as hard as you can, you know. And I love being let loose, because I'm at the 10 all the time in my like normal life, and in my artwork I happen to be too. And so a lot of times they're like, Sonequa, tone it down, Sonequa, reel it in, Sonequa, you know, I heard a lot of that early in my years, and so I've gotten used to doing that. And so whenever I'm able to, like, when somebody says like, let go, go as far as you want to go. Oh, it was amazing. And yeah, that was as hard as I could.
Can I comment on that?
Yes, please.
Somebody has been telling me about you, and Maurice, thank you for this question too. This is actually good, because it's kind of like a promo thing. There is a thing that you need to wait to see in this movie. There's a moment that you're talking about, Maurice, and again, it's not a spoiler, but it's a good reason to like watch this movie, because you will see Sonequa do something. There's something in the film that you will not see coming, and then there's like all this fallout because of it. Somebody told me the mark of an amazing actor is not one who is like doing the most, like Sonequa said, it's when they're fighting it. You can see them fighting back their emotion. And oh my goodness, you will just see Sonequa being the most subterranean. She has got like an ocean of stuff that she is like beneath the surface throughout most of this film. And then at a certain point, and I even as a director in all my years, I hadn't heard that before, but man, you are right. And, you know, when you see somebody trying not to cry, when you see somebody trying not to feel their feelings, that is the thing. So anyway, without saying too much, you hit it there, Maurice. That's what I'm excited for people to see her do. Yeah.
How did you prepare emotionally and psychologically for the impact of military service, especially because it's based on someone's actual life?
You know, this is the part where it gets real personal, and where I just like say what it is for me, regardless of how it might be received. The Lord Jesus had to prepare me. Honestly, the Holy Spirit. I had to really lean on the Lord, because I don't talk about this a lot, and Kyle knows about it a little bit, but because I don't want to muddy the waters. I don't want to divert focus. I don't want to do any of that. And so I don't really talk about this, but I was really hurting at the time that I was in preparation. I was still in a really brutal part of my grief journey with my parents. I lost them a day apart in 2021. My dad from liver cancer, and my mom of a heart attack the very next day. And so there was a ton of guilt and survivor's remorse that I hadn't given over to the Lord yet. And so I was really feeling all of that. And I had been diagnosed with PTSD sometime prior, probably about, I don't know, maybe 6 months or so prior to the film. And so it's like what Merritt says, like the military doesn't own PTSD. They just happen to be the best at it. This story really is universal in its specificity because so many people can relate, right? But all this stuff was coming up and I'm like, I can't use any of this. This needs to slide to the side. I don't want to get clouded. This is about Kyle's life. This is about the life of Merritt. This is about Merritt and Zoe. This is this story. And all of this is in the way. And it was also making me feel like I wasn't going to be able to do this justice. And I would imagine failing Kyle, every veteran, every active soldier, everybody with PTSD. I was like, oh, I can't fail. There was all that tugging and pulling, and I would be sobbing and crying and praying and like, please help me, like all that stuff. And I'm so grateful because, I wouldn't have had it any other way because, first of all, the Lord showed up and showed out. And that was part of the process. And it's part of why it is so special and sacred to me. And how I know that it will benefit people, because I can say it benefited me, with my own stuff, that was separate in a way. Yeah, it was a lot of wanting to do everything right. And as we know, when you are trying to be a perfectionist is so dangerous and so destructive. It's not a good thing. We're taught that it's cool or cute, but it's not. It's a creativity killer. It's a soul crusher. It's not good. And so I was struggling with that. But there was a time I got through it. I literally got through the forest and got to the beach on the other side, where there was the light and there was love and healing and forgiveness and creativity. I took my own journey through that. So I'm just so grateful to Kyle, because little does he know, I think he has an idea, but little does he know this touches people in ways that you can't imagine and in ways that you can't predict. And I have my own journey that I will never forget, in addition to his.
Would you say it was a level of catharsis in it? Possibly?
Yeah, I think so. And Kyle, I know I've been speaking for you with this, but I won't in this
Please.
case. But I do think that there was catharsis for me. What do you say it in an adjacent kind of way, like adjacent catharsis, right? Because I was just so grateful to be of service to the story, to the mission, and to Kyle. And so to know what he's been through, what he went through, what he is putting on the line to do this, it was such a blessing to be a part of his catharsis. And then also, see, this is gonna make me cry. Maybe you should go to Kyle. I don't want to cry.
Sonequa, thank you. And, even though we have been doing so many interviews and press, it's like we continue to learn things about each other and the backstories. And I didn't know some of the nooks and crannies of that. So thank you, as always, Sonequa, for being so giving and vulnerable. And this whole experience has been cathartic. And, I will say, without saying what it is, like, Sonequa put some personal things literally in the movie as well. And so I think that the catharsis there, like for me, this is like spilling my guts in a final draft work file, and now it's a movie. And but it's like the whole idea is that to not take your feelings and your grief and the people that you miss and put it in a little box and and be so precious about it that you can't think about it, you can't talk about it. It's like, no, we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna say their names. We're gonna continue to say, like, like, I just love how this film, like Zoe's last name is Ramirez. That's a friend of mine, you know. And there's everybody in the film was actually named after someone in my life. And the fact that Sonequa also added her stuff into the film, it's like we are, do you know what I'm saying? Like we're doing it in real time. So this whole thing has been cathartic.
It was my dad, by the way, that I added in. Kyle offered it out of the goodness of his heart. He said, "What do you think about having a picture of your real dad?" There's a moment towards the beginning of the film when Mary is going to see her grandfather, and she picks up a photo frame of her dad, and that's actually that's my dad and me in that photo.
Which lives forever now. I mean, the good movie, you know, it lives forever. You know, maybe people that hear this will know that, but most people won't, but we'll know, and it'll live there forever, you know. And yeah.
Thank you, Kyle.
Yeah.
All right, I'll tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna like it, we're gonna bring it back up.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, so Nick, this is speed round questions for both of you. We'll start with Kyle because Sonequa, you know, start with Kyle. She needs me. Right? So,
All right.
Are you good?
I'm good. Try the mic.
All right, cool. Kyle, what do you hope audience take away from watching this film?
There are a lot of things, but I'll say two. One of them is like very tangible. If you see this movie in theaters, which you absolutely should, then we'll say more about that. You will be treated to a special call to action message in the end credits that you will hear from Sonequa and Natalie and Ed Harris and myself. And we are doing something very unique and very cool. We have a pay it forward impact campaign. So if you're moved by this film and you want to help somebody else see the film, we have this message in the end with a QR code that allows people to literally purchase a ticket for somebody else or just contribute to our Zoe fund. The Bob Woodruff Foundation, who's one of our 3 impact partners, they're a 501c3. They are the recipient of all of this money. They're putting it into account, and then we are giving away 100% all the money raised towards tickets for veterans, tickets for anybody, community screenings, and then any money that's left over is just going to be donated to veteran nonprofits. So it is that is like, what do you want people to take away? It's like that, you know, take that away. And then on a more touchy-feely note, I want this film just to be a conversation starter. And if you are not a veteran, which most of this country is not, and then that's fine. That's great. You will see this film and everybody knows a veteran in their family, in their friend group. Maybe they work with someone. And it's like, I hope people will be like, man, I just saw this film about veterans. I had no idea. I laughed. I learned so much about them. It's not at all what I thought. They go to their veteran and be like, so what branch were you? Or, you know, people don't even necessarily know there's different branches. Like, what was your job? What do you even do in that job? You know, like, can you tell me a funny story about tell me a funny story about being in war. Tell me a funny one. Tell me a sad story as well. I want to hear both of them. And I would just love to like take you to lunch, or I'd love to go for a walk. And that's, you know, us veterans, I think we get a bad rap, or people get a bad idea that we don't want to talk about it. No, we do, just in the right context. And so, yeah. So I hope it's a conversation starter.
Sonequa, same question to you. What would you hope audience take away from this film?
Like Kyle said, ditto, a lot of things. Man, I really hope that people, I've been saying this a lot, but I don't, it's just such a big thing to me that I learned over this process that has changed me, and I will never be the same again because of it. So I have to say it. You know, Kyle has heard me say this so many times, but one of the things that I learned was not just that veterans do need to talk about it, but that we need to listen better. And I have to admit that I didn't understand that before this film. I didn't understand how even to listen correctly or better to a veteran or to anyone, you know, struggling with this kind of pain, because these are uncomfortable things. These are oftentimes inhumane things, and they're tough to discuss and they're tough to confront. And so people sort of sidestep it, or they just like, they want to get in the shallow end, but then it's like, ooh, you want to go to the deep end? Ooh, I don't want to go there with you. Like, that's uncomfortable. Like, ooh, you know. And I think that that was happening, that happens to us sort of subconsciously. And I could look back on, all the times that I could have asked a follow-up question, or I could have reached out a little bit more, or I could have tried to get my uncle, one of my uncles, who's passed now, try to get him to talk about it. Like, I didn't even think about it that way. And so I hope that when what people learn from this too is how to listen better, and even for themselves. The second thing is I really hope people see how important forgiveness of self is. That unforgiveness is why the shame is there. It's why the PTSD, it's the hook that the PTSD is like hooked on. It's hooked on that guilt and that shame. And that forgiveness of self is a process. Sometimes it can happen suddenly. Sometimes it happens miraculously, in an instant. But oftentimes it's a process, and it's a multi-step process. And the beginning of that process is talking about it.
Do you feel that some people, and this is an opinion, do you feel some people are afraid to let go of that, let go of that hurt, or that blame, or that shame, because they may find a sort of power? And there's a reason I'm asking.
Oh gosh, like what a profound question. And yes.
Mhm.
And Kyle actually communicated this quite beautifully in the film, because if you notice, I'll try not to spoil anything, but if you notice, Zoe offers a lot of comfort and a lot of joy. Like little bits of comfort and happiness come from this manifestation. Natalie calls Zoe a guilt demon. Um, it's not all, it's familiar and it's comfortable too. And it's a bit of a security blanket in a lot of ways too. And so, yes, I think in that same way that we see in this film, yes, a lot of people hold on to it because it is all that it has become so wrapped around their identity that it feels like another death to let go of it. It's like, I don't know who I will be. I don't know what the world will look like. I don't know what happens after that. This is who I am, And so to detach it, what's the word? Extricate it from your identity. Again, it's why it's a process. It's why it takes time. And I believe I was led through that by the Lord. And so I have my own very particular experience with how he walked me through it, step by step by step by step. But yes, I think also that there is pride in it too. I love that you said that, and even strength in it. I think the strength is because of the pride, because it is you punishing yourself makes you feel okay. And it's almost like the way that you handle your grief. It's easier to blame yourself than just face the grief sometimes too.
The reason why I asked that question was simply because I've been told that there are certain things that I need to let go. And I find a power in it because it keeps me pushing forward. And so that fear is like, if I drop that, what do you call it? Comfort demon?
Yeah, guilt demon. Yeah, yeah.
If I drop that guilt demon, who would I be without it? Would I still fight as hard without it?
Maurice, something to share with you. Thank you for sharing that with us. Like that, the character that Morgan Freeman is based on is a VA counselor and a Vietnam veteran that I don't know, that approached me in the lobby of a VA when I had just got back, and I was a college kid and I didn't really have a lot of friends, and I was drinking a lot and I was running a lot. And he saw me there in this lobby of this VA, sitting there angry in a bad way. And he kind of just came up and put his hand on my shoulder, and he wouldn't. At first I was like, don't touch people. Why are you touching me? A stranger. And he didn't, but he didn't, yeah, he didn't let go. He did not let go. And he said to me, do you think whatever you're going through, the people you're mourning, do you really think they're looking down right now and want you to be like this? Is that what they would want? No, you're being stupid. You're being a knucklehead right now. The way that you honor them is by living your best life, is by thriving. And that was such a paradigm shift for me. And maybe, I don't know if that's helpful for you at all too, but that is like the thing that allowed me to be like, oh, okay. Yeah, they're not here, but I get to be still. And for however many more days I have on this planet, to make the most of them. And that's how you honor the people that we've lost. So that was helpful for me in how to think about it.
That's profound. So you also, I appreciate you bringing up my last question. This is a fun one. This is for both of y'all. This is a fun one. What was it like working with not only an Air Force veteran, but an Oscar-winning actor in the name of Morgan Freeman? Now, I just want to point out real quick that I worked with Morgan Freeman on a film called Gunner. And when I introduced myself, I said to him, I said, Mr. Freeman, and he stopped me. Now, I can't say exactly what he said, but he said, son, first of all, it's Morgan blank Freeman. Blank, it kind of sounds like fudging.
Okay.
He made it a point to make sure that I called him Morgan fudging Freeman. So it was wonderful. So how was it for you guys?
Kyle, I mean, listen, it's Morgan Freeman, right? And honestly, Ed Harris too. And I'm gonna be honest, I've loved Gloria Reuben my whole life.
Yeah.
So what a masterclass, as you would imagine.
Yeah.
I got a sense of the absolute mastery and control they have. The both of them. They just surrender wholly to the moment, but they just are they're in control as well. I've never seen, and both of them did this, I've never seen someone be in control but fully letting go at the same time. It was profound. We've been using that word a lot. That'll be the theme of this talk, is profound. But I'm super excited, Kyle, for you to talk about, because they both speak so highly of you, and rightfully so. And they both knew who he is and what he has to give. And so they were both like, all right, you the boss. Like, look, we trust you. We respect you. You the boss. What you got for us? They both sort of took on that kind of vibe,
which was scary as hell. and
the voice of God. You literally had the voice of God.
The voice of God, absolutely. The anecdote I'll say about Morgan. There's so many things to say about Morgan and Ed, but to answer your question, just a snapshot to give you a sense. We're doing the group therapy scene, which you see in the trailer. There's clips online. Like there's group therapy happening in this movie, and it's fun at times. And when we went out to do that scene, Morgan walks on set, and here's a big circle of chairs, and here's the supporting cast, and they are all veterans, and they are all the same veterans who were in the short film. And Sonequa is there, and Natalie's there, and we're getting ready to go. And Morgan came in, and he introduced himself to every single one of those veterans, and then just ribbed them right away. A little thing, what's your name, Zeke? Okay, I'm gonna forget that. Okay, it's like, of course he didn't, but he just made a point and just really saw them and held space for them, and I thought that was pretty damn cool. And then we did this thing to kick off that group therapy. I had everybody stand and say, what's your name? What branch were you? What'd you do? And we went all the way around the circle. And then I was the second to last person. I said, my name's Kyle, I was Army. And then the last person stood up and he said, yeah, my name is Morgan Freeman. And I served in the Air Force. And then we were like, okay, here we go. Let's make a movie now. So that was pretty cool.
Well, listen, Kyle, Sonequa, I'm going to thank you for your time, again, for your service, for your efforts, for your talent, for everything that you've done. And I look forward to everybody seeing, not only seeing, but understanding and really digesting this film. Can you tell us when and where we can see that?
Yeah, the film will be in theaters nationwide this Friday, February 28th. And you can go to my deadfriendzoemovie.com to look up showtimes. We will be at AMC, Regal, Cinemark, all the big ones, also independent chains. So it's going to be everywhere. If people turn up to see this movie, it will be in more theaters, and we are asking people's help. If you want to do something, if you want to send a message to Hollywood, go see this movie in theaters. Get your tickets now. We are this little indie film that could, despite our massive cast of Sonequa, Natalie, Ed, Morgan, Utkarsh, Gloria, we are still competing with the big ones. So if you want Hollywood to make more films like this, please get a ticket, see it this weekend. Tell someone about it.
Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, Sonequa.